Introduction. The phone screen lit up on the kitchen table. It was a short text from Liam. It read, "I've had a long week. I need some time to myself. Don't wait up for me. I might stay at my brother's for a few days. I just need to breathe." Maya sat in the dark. She had spent the last 3 hours making his favorite dinner. The pasta was cold now. The sauce had turned into a thick skin on top. She had even bought the expensive wine he liked. Just 2 nights ago, they had been laughing and planning a trip. They felt so close. She thought they had finally turned a corner. But then came the pull away. It always happened like this. One minute, Liam was right there with her. The next, he was like a ghost. He would shut his phone off. He would stop answering her questions. He would act like she was a stranger who was asking for too much, even when she was only asking how his day went. Maya felt a familiar tightness in her chest. Her heart beat fast. She felt a rush of heat in her face. Her first thought was, what did I do wrong? She started scrolling through her old texts. She looked for a sign of when the mood changed. Was it because she hugged him too long this morning? Was it because she asked about their holiday plans? She spent the next hour typing and deleting messages. She wanted to tell him she was hurt. She wanted to beg him to come home. She wanted to tell him that he was being mean. But she also didn't want to scare him away. She was terrified that if she showed her pain, he would run even further. This is the life of a person who loves an avoidant partner. It is a life spent walking on eggshells. It is a life where you feel like you are always chasing a person who is constantly looking for the exit. You give and give, hoping that if you provide enough love, enough space, and enough kindness, they will finally feel safe enough to stay. But the more you give, the more they seem to pull back. You are left feeling empty, tired, and invisible. The invisible wall. If you are reading this, you likely know the feeling of a silent dinner. You sit across from the person you love most in the world. You can see them. You can hear them chew. You can reach out and touch their hand. But it feels like there is a mile of thick glass between you. You try to start a conversation. You ask about their work. They give a one-word answer. You tell a funny story. They barely smile. You try to share something you are worried about, and they look at their watch. You start to feel like a bother. You start to feel needy. You hate that word, but it's the one that rings in your head. You wonder why your needs for a hug, a talk, or a simple "I love you" feel like such a huge burden to them. You are stuck in a loop. It is a push-pull dance that never ends. When you step closer, they step back. When you finally get tired and stop trying, they might come back and show you a little bit of affection. They give you just enough breadcrumbs of love to make you stay. Then, the cycle starts all over again. This book is for the person who is exhausted by that dance. It is for the person who feels like they are losing their own spark because they are too busy trying to keep their partner's fire lit. You are not the problem. For a long time, you have probably believed that if you were just a little bit better, this wouldn't happen. You think if you were thinner, smarter, more patient, or less emotional, your partner would stay close. I want to tell you something very important right now. It is not your fault. Your partner's need to pull away is not a reaction to your flaws. It is a survival skill they learned a long time ago. Before they even knew you, they learned that being close to people was dangerous. They learned that the only way to be safe was to be alone. When you try to get close, their brain sounds an alarm. It tells them they are being trapped. It tells them they are going to lose their freedom. So they push you away to stop the alarm. You have been trying to fix a problem that started decades before you met. You have been trying to be the perfect partner to someone who is afraid of having a partner at all. But while it isn't your fault, you are the only one who can change your part of the dance. You cannot force them to change. You cannot love them into being more open. You can, however, change how you show up. You can choose to stop chasing. You can choose to find your own worth again. The promise of this book. By the time you finish these chapters, you will not be the same person you are today. Right now, you might feel like a chaser. You might feel like your happiness depends entirely on whether or not your partner texts you back. You are going to become someone who is grounded. A grounded person is like a tree with deep roots. When the wind blows, when your partner pulls away or gets quiet, you might shake a little, but you will not fall over. You will learn how to hold your own boundaries. You will learn how to say what you need without feeling like a beggar. You will discover how to understand the science of why your partner runs away so you can stop taking it personally. Stop over-functioning and doing the emotional work for two people. Manage the panic that hits your body when your partner goes silent. Speak your truth in a way that doesn't trigger a fight. Build a life that is so full and happy that you aren't waiting by the door for someone else to come home. Whether your relationship gets better or it ends, you will be okay. You will have your self-respect back. You will have your peace back. Why you can trust this journey. This book isn't just full of nice ideas. It is built on real science and real history. We will look at the work of people like John Bowlby. He was a scientist who spent his life studying how humans connect. He found that we all have a wiring in our brains for how we love. Some of us are wired to be anxious, and some are wired to avoid. Knowing this science is like having a map of a dark forest. Once you have the map, you aren't as scared of the shadows. We will also look at the life of Eleanor Roosevelt. She was a famous woman who was married to a man who was often emotionally distant. She didn't spend her life crying in a corner waiting for him to change. She found a way to build a massive, beautiful life of her own. She learned how to love her husband without losing her soul. If she could do it in the middle of a world war and a complicated marriage, you can do it too. Meeting Maya. To help you see how these ideas work in real life, we are going to follow the story of Maya. Maya is 34 years old. She's a freelance graphic designer. She is creative, kind, and very good at her job. Or she used to be. Lately, she has been missing deadlines. She sits at her computer, but instead of designing logos, she is checking Liam's social media. She is checking to see if he is active on Instagram while he is ignoring her texts. Maya is an over-functioner. When Liam pulls away, Maya works harder. She cleans the whole house. She plans surprise dates. She buys him gifts. She tries to be the perfect girlfriend, so he won't have any reason to leave. She is tired. Her back hurts from stress. She has stopped seeing her friends because she wants to be available, just in case Liam wants to hang out. She is disappearing. Her world is getting smaller and smaller, and it is all centered around a man who isn't even sure if he wants to be there. Maya's story is the story of so many of us. As we go through this book, we will watch Maya learn how to put on her own oxygen mask first. We will see her try to build a bridge of vulnerability, and learn what happens when the other person won't meet her halfway. The road ahead. We are going to take this journey one step at a time. First, we will look at the 3 pillars of why people are avoidant. You will learn that it's not about you, it's about how their brain was built. Then, we will look at you. We will ask why you give until it hurts. We will look at overgiving and see it for what it really is, a way to try to control a scary situation. We will talk about the dance of distance. You will see how your chasing actually makes your partner run faster. You will learn how to stop the chase and stand still. We will cover how to talk without fighting. You will learn secure scripting. These are words you can use to say, "I feel lonely when you don't call," without sounding like you are attacking them. We will also talk about boundaries. You will learn the difference between a wall and a gate. A wall keeps everyone out. A gate lets the right people in and keeps the wrong behavior out. Finally, we will reach the crossroads. This is where you decide if this relationship is a place where you can truly grow, or if it is time to walk toward a different future. The goal is not to fix your partner. The goal is to find you. When you find yourself, everything else becomes clear. You stop being a person who is starving for crumbs and start being a person who knows they deserve a full meal. You have been looking for the key to your partner's heart for a long time. It is time to realize that the most important key is the one that unlocks your own life. The dinner is cold, the sun has gone down, and the house is quiet. But you don't have to stay in the dark anymore. Let's begin. Chapter 1: 3 Pillars of the Avoidant Attachment Style. The kitchen floor was cold, the kind of cold that seeps through thick wool socks and settles in your bones. It was 11:14 p.m. The only light in the room came from the small, glowing screen of a smartphone resting on the granite counter. Maya sat on a bar stool, her fingers tracing the edge of a ceramic mug that had long since gone lukewarm. The house was silent, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Earlier that evening, Liam had been there. They had cooked pasta together. There had been laughter, a shared glass of wine, and a moment where he tucked a stray hair behind her ear. For a few minutes, the world felt safe. Then Maya asked a simple question. Do you think we should look at cabins for that trip next month? The shift was instant. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a shout. It was a disappearing act, performed by someone still standing in the room. Liam's eyes went flat. He suddenly remembered an email he had to send. He washed his plate with a mechanical focus, said he was just really tired, and left. Now he was in the bedroom with the door shut, and Maya was in the kitchen, feeling like she had accidentally stepped on a landmine she couldn't see. The air in the kitchen felt thin. Maya's chest was tight, that familiar pressure that made her want to pace the floor or burst into the bedroom to demand an explanation. She felt a frantic need to fix the glitch. She started typing a text. Are you okay? Did I say something wrong? She deleted it. She typed, I feel like you're pulling away again. She deleted that too. She was over-functioning again. Her brain was spinning like a hamster on a wheel, trying to solve the puzzle of Liam's silence. She was trying to do the emotional work for both of them, trying to bridge a gap that he had just spent the last hour widening. The myth of the heartless partner. When someone we love pulls away, our brains tell us a very specific story. We tell ourselves that they are being mean. We tell ourselves they don't care, or that they are playing games to keep us off balance. We see their silence as a weapon. This is the great myth of the avoidant partner, that their distance is a choice made out of a lack of love. In reality, the distance is rarely about a lack of love. It is about a surplus of fear. To understand why Liam and millions of people like him shuts down when things get close, we have to look back at how the human brain learns to survive. We have to look at the 3 pillars of the avoidant style. These aren't just personality quirks. They are deep, heavy beams that hold up a person's entire way of existing in the world. If you don't understand these pillars, you will spend your whole relationship trying to knock down a wall that your partner believes is the only thing keeping them alive. The Clinic in the Rain. In 1944, London was a city of shadows and sirens. The war was dragging on, and the streets were filled with children who had been moved, hidden, or left behind. In a small clinic, a man named John Bowlby was watching these children. He wasn't interested in their physical health as much as he was interested in their hearts. Bowlby noticed a group of boys who seemed different from the others. He called them the 44 juvenile thieves. These were kids who had been caught stealing, but that wasn't the most interesting thing about them. The most striking thing was their emotional coldness. Bowlby sat across from these boys in gray, drafty rooms. He watched their faces. When he asked about their mothers or their homes, they didn't cry. They didn't get angry. They simply didn't seem to care. They were like little statues. He discovered something vital. Almost all of these cold children had suffered a major break in their connection with their caregivers early in life. They had been sent away to hospitals where parents weren't allowed to visit, or they had mothers who were physically present but emotionally 1,000 miles away. Bowlby realized that these children hadn't been born without feelings. They had turned off their feelings because feeling was too painful. If you cry for a mother who never comes, eventually you stop crying. You decide, deep in your nervous system, that needing people is a dangerous mistake. You learn to be your own island. This is where avoidant attachment begins. It isn't a strategy for dating, it's a survival map drawn in childhood. Pillar 1. Independence as a shield. The first pillar of the avoidant style is the belief that independence is the only way to be safe. For Maya's partner, Liam, this started long before he met her. When Liam was 5, he fell off his bike and scraped his knee until it bled. He ran into the house, crying, looking for comfort. His mother, overwhelmed by her own problems, looked at him and said, "Big boys don't cry over a scratch. Go wash it off, and don't bring that dirt into my kitchen." In that moment, Liam's brain recorded a lesson. My pain is a burden to others. If I show I need help, I will be rejected. I must fix myself. As an adult, this translates into a fierce, almost desperate need for autonomy. To an avoidant partner, a request for closeness feels like a heavy hand on their shoulder, pushing them underwater. When Maya asked about the cabin, Liam didn't hear a fun vacation plan. He heard a commitment. He heard a plan that he hadn't controlled. He felt the walls of the relationship closing in, and his brain triggered a flight response. This is why they value their space above almost everything else. It's not that they hate you, it's that they are terrified of losing the only person they think they can rely on, themselves. Pillar 2. The deactivation switch. The second pillar is a biological process called deactivation. Imagine your emotions are like a series of lights in a house. For most people, when a partner says something sweet or asks for a deeper connection, the lights get a little brighter. For an avoidant person, when the closeness level gets too high, a circuit breaker trips. The lights don't just dim, they go black. This is what Maya saw in the kitchen. One minute Liam was there, and the next, he was gone. John Bowlby's research showed that this isn't just a mood. It's a physiological shutdown. When avoidant people feel the danger of intimacy, their brains actually suppress their attachment system. They stop feeling the longing for their partner. They focus on flaws. They think, she's too needy. She's always asking for things. I'd be happier alone. They aren't lying when they say they don't know what's wrong, or that they just need to be alone. In that moment, they truly do not feel the love that was there 20 minutes ago. The off switch has been flipped to protect them from the perceived threat of being engulfed by another person's needs. Pillar 3. The negative view of others. The third pillar is the most painful one for the partner to experience. The belief that others are ultimately unreliable or controlling. In Bowlby's study of the thieves, he noticed that the boys didn't trust the doctors. They didn't expect kindness. They expected to be let down, so they made sure they didn't care enough to be hurt. In a relationship, an avoidant partner often keeps a mental exit open at all times. They might keep their finances strictly separate, avoid making long-term plans, or keep certain parts of their life a secret. This isn't because they are planning to leave, it's because they don't believe in their heart of hearts that you will stay. They think, if I let her all the way in and then she leaves, I will die. But if I keep her at arm's length, I will survive when she inevitably goes. This is the push-pull cycle. They pull you close because they are human and they want love. But as soon as you get close enough to see their true self, the fear pillar kicks in. They push you away to regain their sense of safety. Maya's aha moment. Back in the quiet kitchen, Maya picked up a book on her counter. It was a collection of old design prints, but tucked inside was a photo Liam had given her a few months ago. It was a picture of him when he was 7 years old, standing on a beach. She looked at it closely. He wasn't building a sand castle with anyone. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was standing several feet away from the rest of his family, looking out at the ocean. His face was a mask of calm, but his small hands were balled into tight fists at his sides. For the first time, Maya didn't see a cold partner. She saw a little boy who had learned that standing alone was the only way to keep from being knocked over by the waves. She felt the urge to go knock on the bedroom door fade. She realized that her overfunctioning, her constant checking in, her demands for talks, her frantic energy, was actually making the waves bigger for him. The more she tried to pull him out of his shell, the tighter he closed it. This was her first encounter with the oxygen mask rule. In an airplane, you are told to put on your own mask before helping others. If you are gasping for air, you are useless to the person sitting next to you. Maya realized she had been trying to force an oxygen mask onto Liam, while she herself was suffocating from anxiety. She needed to breathe first. She needed to regulate her own heart rate. She needed to understand that his silence wasn't a hole in the relationship that she had to fill with her own words. It was a symptom of his internal weather. The science of the still face. To understand why this is so hard for Maya and for you, we have to look at how we are wired to react to silence. In the 1970s, a researcher named Dr. Edward Tronick conducted a famous study called the still face experiment. He had a mother sit across from her baby. At first they played. They cooed, laughed, and mirrored each other's expressions. It was a bridge of vulnerability in its simplest form. Then the mother was told to go still. She kept her face completely blank. She didn't look away, but she didn't respond. The baby's reaction was heartbreaking. First, the baby tried to get the mother's attention by smiling and pointing. When that didn't work, the baby began to screech. He kicked his legs. He showed signs of extreme stress. Finally, when the mother remained still, the baby collapsed. He turned his body away, tucked his chin, and went into a state of hopeless withdrawal. When Liam goes still, Maya's brain reacts exactly like that baby's. Her nervous system screams, "Danger? The connection is broken. I am alone." This is why the anxious-avoidant dance is so violent. One person is triggered into a fight or seek mode, the screeching baby, while the other is triggered into a freeze or hide mode, the still face. Neither person is bad. Both are simply reacting to a perceived threat to their survival. Breaking the cycle of fixing. Maya put the photo back in the book. She took a deep breath, a real one, down into her belly. She realized that for the last 2 years, she had been trying to love Liam into being someone else. She thought if she was kind enough, patient enough, or secure enough, he would stop being avoidant. She was treating him like a project instead of a person. This is the most common mistake people make in these relationships. They think their love is a cure. But as John Bowlby discovered, these patterns are internal working models. They are like the operating system of a computer. You can't change the software by just hitting the keyboard harder. Maya's job wasn't to fix Liam's attachment style. Her job was to change her own reaction to it. If she stopped chasing, the chase and run dynamic would have to change. If she stopped overfunctioning, he would be left to face his own silence. By putting on her own oxygen mask, by staying calm, focusing on her own life, and refusing to panic, she was actually creating the only environment where Liam might eventually feel safe enough to peek out of his shell. The pillars in daily life. How did these 3 pillars show up in small ways? Understanding the why behind the behavior is the first step toward not taking it personally. The "I need space" text. When you get a short text saying "busy, can't talk," the avoidant partner is leaning on the first pillar, independence. They feel the pressure of the conversation and are pushing it away to feel in control again. The truth, it's not about you being boring or annoying. It's about them feeling crowded by the idea of a connection. The post-intimacy chill. After a great weekend or a deep conversation, they suddenly become cold or critical. This is the second pillar, deactivation. The closeness got too hot, and their internal circuit breaker tripped. The truth, they aren't faking the love they showed earlier. They are simply terrified of how much they felt, so their brain shut the feelings off to protect them. The secretiveness. They don't tell you about a promotion at work until 3 days later, or they make a big purchase without mentioning it. This is the third pillar, negative view of others. They don't want to be beholden to your opinion or reaction. The truth, they aren't trying to exclude you. They are trying to prove to themselves that they can still survive on their own. The view from the bridge. The goal of this journey isn't to force your partner to become a different person. It is to build a bridge of vulnerability. A bridge requires two stable foundations on either side of the river. Up until now, Maya had been trying to build the bridge by running across to Liam's side and trying to pull him over. But that just made the bridge wobble and fall. To build a real bridge, Maya had to stay on her own side. She had to make her own foundation, her self-worth, her hobbies, her business, her peace, rock solid. Only then could she reach out a hand. Only then would the bridge be strong enough to hold both of them. Maya stood up from the bar stool. She didn't send the text. She didn't check the bedroom door. Instead, she walked to her small studio corner, turned on the lamp, and picked up a charcoal pencil. She had a deadline for a graphic design project that she had been ignoring because she was too busy worrying about Liam. As she began to draw, the tightness in her chest started to loosen. She wasn't waiting for him to give her peace. She was creating it for herself. She realized that Liam might stay in that room for an hour, or he might stay there until morning. She couldn't control that. But she could control whether she spent those hours as a starving seeker or as a woman who knew her own value. The silence in the house didn't feel like a weapon anymore. It just felt like silence. And in that silence, Maya found her own voice again. A new way of seeing. Understanding the avoidant style is like learning a foreign language. When you first hear it, it sounds like nonsense or even like an insult. But once you learn the grammar, the 3 pillars, you realize it's just a different way of saying, I am scared. Liam wasn't a villain. He was a man who had been taught that the only way to keep his heart safe was to keep it in a locked box. Maya wasn't a victim. She was a woman who had been trying to pick a lock that wasn't hers to open. The shift begins when you stop looking for the key and start building your own beautiful house on your side of the river. When you understand that their distance is a survival skill, not a personal attack, you gain a superpower, non-reactivity. You stop being the baby in the still face experiment. You stop screeching for attention and start providing your own. This doesn't mean you accept a life of loneliness. It means you stop participating in a dance that doesn't lead anywhere. It means you reclaim your agency. Maya looked at her drawing, a sketch of a bridge, ironically. It was unfinished, but the lines were strong. She felt a quiet sense of victory. She had survived a night of silence without losing herself in it. She had put on her oxygen mask, and for the first time in a long time, she could breathe. Understanding is not about making excuses for someone's behavior. It is about giving yourself the map so you stop getting lost in their woods. Chapter 2: Why do we give until it hurts? The drawing room at Hyde Park was filled with heavy velvet curtains that blocked the afternoon sun. The air smelled of beeswax, old books, and the faint sweet scent of tea that had gone cold. Every chair was placed at a perfect angle. The silver spoons were polished until they shone like mirrors. In the center of this stillness sat a young woman named Eleanor. She was tall and shy, with shoulders that tended to hunch as if she were trying to take up less space. She spent her hours writing thank you notes, planning menus, and making sure her husband Franklin had everything he could possibly need. Eleanor was doing everything right. She followed every rule her mother-in-law set. She managed a giant household. She stayed quiet when she wanted to speak, and smiled when she wanted to cry. She believed that if she could just be perfect enough, she would finally feel secure. She thought that if she gave every ounce of her energy to her marriage, she would be rewarded with the deep, steady love she craved. She was acting as the glue for the entire family, holding together a life that felt like it might shatter if she stopped moving for even a second. But inside that quiet room, Eleanor was disappearing. The more she gave, the less she felt like a real person. She was a shadow moving through a very expensive house. She was discovering a painful truth that many of us face today. You can give until you are empty, but you cannot use your own sacrifice to fill the holes in someone else's heart. The invisible price of overgiving.